Hello, and welcome to the studio. If you're new here, it's lovely to have you. My name is Nora, and I am the face behind Studio Nora, and this slightly chaotic space is my studio. If you've been here before, welcome back. It's great to have you again, and chaos still reigns here. Join me today as we talked about a finished object, some works in progress, thoughts on stranded color work, and sweater construction in general. Let's do it. Before I get into episode 4 of the Studio Nora Podcast, I would like to spend some time on the state of the world. And it seems like it's almost obligatory now that there is a war in the Western world. And I have been experiencing a lot of emotions around it, and before we get into frivolous things like knitting and sewing, I would like to talk you through my thought process a little bit. So as you might know, I am a teacher at a high school in the Netherlands, and I feel that it is part of my job to shed light on situations in the world. About current events, and being an English teacher, it's really easy to fit it into my lessons because as long as we speak English, it counts as listening exercise, critical thinking, or speaking. But I have been struggling a lot in trying to discuss Ukraine and the war that is going on there. Partly because it is so close to home. I mean, Ukraine from the Netherlands it's 2,000 kilometers. That's not a lot. Of course, also the implications that where is Russia gonna stop? Is the EU next? What about NATO? It's really scary. But then also I'm struggling with the thought that a lot of people are concerned about this war and they want to help, which is really good. But what about all the disasters and wars that are going on outside of the Western world? So that's I've been struggling with that a bit. So yes, I've admitted to my classes, and I'm admitting to you that I don't know how to talk about this situation very well. I'm not certified in any way to have an educated opinion on it. I mean, I watch the news, I read articles, but it's really hard. And of course, this comes from a place of privilege. I get to be here in Amsterdam and be safe and not worry that I have to flee my house. So, I just don't know how to think about it and how to discuss it other than what I've just been doing. So, having said that, let's talk about knitting and sewing, which feels weird. So I'm just sitting with those emotions, and I hope that I can bring you some joy by discussing knitting and sewing and my thoughts and plans and feelings. If you have been here before, you might notice that I'm wearing my finished object of this episode. It is the little Twigs sweater. I'll come a bit closer. So there is this textured yoke, and this is about the color. It is a pattern by Melody Hoffman of Bee Mandarins, and I knit it in Merino DK, which was naturally dyed using indigo by Studio Solas. and I love it. The pattern was a bit... It didn't make sense in every place, but it might have been just me. And what is also really funny... funny. It is a bit funny. So I started this sweater early 2021, so last year. And I made several swatches to find the perfect gauge. And during that time, I was already burnt out, but not officially, so I was still working. And my gauge, as it turns out, was quite tight. And that's fine. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Your gauge changes throughout, however you're feeling and what your body is doing. And so I made these swatches with this tighter gauge, and I knitted the sleeves while I was, let's say, aware of my burnout and working to recover. And my gauge was still quite tight. Even looking at it, like looking at the sleeve and looking at the body, I can see the difference. Because when I started the body, I was already doing a lot better. And I'm doing a lot better now too, by the way. But you can notice that the gauge in the body is a lot looser than in the sleeves, which is why the body turned out a little bit bigger than anticipated. But that's not a problem because I love it. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how that changes. Yeah, I think it's really nice. What else to say about it? By the way, I'm back to working, not full-time. I work 3 days a week, but I work all my hours again. And I have been very mindful about my mental state, I guess. Having gone through burnout is not something I want to do again, and knitting has actually helped a lot. And I think I'm still recovering in a sense that I am learning how to handle things differently, so to make sure that I don't end up burnt out again, because you can't continue doing what you did if you want the results to be different, usually. So yeah, my first finished object. This is the 4th sweater I've ever made, and I am really happy with it. I have to say, it goes well with a lot of items in my wardrobe already. Yeah, and I also really like it with like a shirt underneath, which is a bit cooler because I have been wearing it to work as well. And usually I just wear like a jersey top underneath my knitted sweaters because my skin is quite sensitive at the moment. But that's quite warm, and I noticed that with these cotton shirts, it's a lot nicer. Well, it's nice with the jersey as well, but I just overheat a little bit quicker. And with the cotton, I stay a bit cooler, which is really nice. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased with it. You might notice that or not, that I have got my braces. It's been 2 weeks. And the first week was really rough. It hurt a lot. I have to say, for a whole week, I just ate like soup with bread, like dunked into it, and yogurt and just smoothies, because chewing and biting was not an option. And my husband actually was away on a holiday, so I had to fend for myself. So it was mostly noodles, soup, dunked bread, anything soft which had some nutritional value. And last week I went back to work after the holidays, and I'm kind of used to it now. I think you don't notice it too much in my speech, but it was rough because as a teacher you talk a lot, and especially the inside of my cheek was like, when you smile or when you talk, you kind of drag the inside of your cheek over the braces. And yes, the inside of my cheeks have not been happy, but I have to say that since yesterday, it's improved quite a lot. So it doesn't hurt that much anymore. Then of course in 2 weeks I'm going back to the orthodontist and they're gonna put something new in and it's gonna hurt again. But it's for a good cause. Functional straight teeth is what I'm going for. So yeah. I hope you have some nice beverage to drink. I found my loose leaf tea again. The kitchen reno is well, I told you last time, it's pretty much over. I still have to build the side table that I was talking about. But there were some, my what do you call it? Other things took priority. My dad had some health issues that we had to deal with. And I just decided to leave it for now. I will build the side table for my tea and like it's a hot beverage station. That is what it's going to be. But yeah, for now it's just everywhere. But I did find it again and it's in my lovely cup that I got in England, in Cornwall. Is it Cornwall or Devon? Boscastle Pottery makes these lovely cups for vases, really. So that is my one and only finished object of this week and I'm really happy with it. I will remove this clicky thingy because that's gonna be quite annoying otherwise. You stay there. Excellent. All right. By the way, if you can hear some noise, there is the other attic room, which is the attic of my downstairs neighbors. Their door doesn't close and it's quite windy outside, so it keeps like jamming and making a noise and I can't fixate it without entering their space, which I don't want to do because it's not mine. But it's been banging a lot, which is really annoying. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. Okay. So, works in progress. So I already told you that the side table has not started yet, but it will sometime in the future. I'm also still working on my vanilla socks in a Mondim, but I haven't really made any progress on it because I have been quite monogamously knitting on my little Twigs sweater. I do have a new cast on. If you were here for the first episode, you will know that my plan was when this sweater was finished, I could start a new sweater, which is the Vintersol sweater by Jennifer Steingass, as you can see here. And I have started it. So it is a hybrid construction where you cast on a provisional cast on, and then you knit upwards, you knit the yoke, and then after that I don't know how this is going to go, but apparently you unravel the provisional cast on and then you work it top down. And as you might know, that is my preferred method so far. And I don't have a lot to show, but there is a very tangled up beginning. Yeah. How will I best show this? Okay, so there's a little, everything is falling. Oh. There is a little color work here for you to see. So this is the beginning. So this beige bit at the bottom, that is the provisional cast on that somehow will magically enable me to continue knitting it down as well. And then the blue is the main color, and then there the gray is going to be the contrast, and then the beige is also going to be the contrast. Pretty excited about it. I can show you the colors that I got. So the main color is this Knitting for Olive Merino Dusty Aqua. Hello. There you go. And then this is one contrast, which is called Raccoon Why don't you focus? There you go. Raccoon. And then this is powder, which is the other color. And I am really excited by it. Of course, this all lives in my sweater bag, which is very, very full with all the balls, because this is fingering weight and you knit it using 2 strands. So I am after some advice. Well, I always am. But so this is color work, and it's been a while since I knit color work. As you might know, my very first sweater was a Drema sweater by Jennifer Steingass, which is knit in lead Lopi. And when I was knitting that, the color work yoke, I had the contrast color in my left to pick. So I usually knit continental, and then I had the main color in my right hand, and I just did it the English way, I think it's called. But because lead Lopi is a lot fluffier, I would call it, it was easier to do that. Or I just don't remember doing it. But I have been experimenting a little bit with the stranded color work on the Vintersol, because it is held double. So first I tried having the contrast color and the main color in my left hand and just picking it, but that is a bit annoying because then there's 4 strands of yarn on my finger. And I also tried it using one of those rings with the 2 like holders, but that doesn't really fit my finger and it twists. So then I thought, okay, I'll just use the contrast color on my left hand, and I'll throw the main color on my right. But for some reason that's not really clicking this time. So yeah, I don't know what to do with that. It's going a lot slower than just knitting continental in one color, of course. But I've been kind of trying out several methods. I don't know, how do you knit stranded color work if you do that? Any top tips or things I should look into to kind of improve my flow? Because now I throw with my right hand, but I kind of have to retension it every time I do that. So it's, I'm not yet 100% sure what my preferred style is. So any tips are very, very welcome. But so far I am having a lot of fun because I really like the colors, and I'm very excited to have this sweater in my wardrobe. I do think that after this sweater I should look into knitting some tees, because we are turning towards summer and spring. Well, spring first. So after this sweater, which will probably be done somewhere in the summer, I will move my attention to some summer appropriate things to knit. Alright, so that is a new cast on and a work in progress. Another work in progress that I've actually made a lot of progress on, also because there's kind of a deadline, because the baby will be born anytime soon. Yeah, about anytime soon. So as you know, as you might know, I am making a diaper bag for a friend of mine. If you're watching, look away, or do not look away. I don't know if you're watching this, but if you are, be aware. So I am making the Explorer Tote by NoodleHead, and I have finished the outside, and this is it. So this is the front, and then let me just unclip this. Boop. There will be like a little flap here that should come here, but it seems a little small. Interesting. Well, there's a flap. Oh yeah, I know how that works. So this little magnetized flap. And then there is a pocket here, and then on the back there is a big pocket here and small pockets. And there are many birds because my friend really likes birds. Oh, there's also some loose threads. So yeah, I'm really excited with it. Let me tuck. This will tuck away again so I don't sew over it accidentally. That's that stupid door if you heard that. So this is the outside, and then it will have blue handles, like over the shoulder, and then also a long strap so you can wear it across the body. And then for the lining, it's gonna have, oh, you're on, oh, do not fall. Okay, good. Am I still in focus? Hello. Yes. For the lining is this blue, and then these pockets, 2 big pockets. They're, oh, can I show you this? They're self-lined, and will only have pockets on one side. I think the front, probably, of the bag. Yeah, so I just have to assemble the lining. Attach the handles, insert the zip, and then it's done. So I'm almost there. Yeah, but it's coming along nicely, and it's a really fun project to dive into. Something this big, but mostly like there's lots of steps and lots of moving parts in it, and it's really fun, I have to say. So yeah. This is going along great, and it should be done around the time that I can visit the baby, which will not be like day 1. And I believe that in the first days of having said baby, they're not going to need a diaper bag, because I think they're just going to stay at home and learn how to live with a screaming child that needs attention. I don't think they'll need a diaper bag in the first few days. So that is good. And I'm really excited with it. All right. Let me move this to a safe space. My last, well, I guess they're finished objects, but last time I showed you my newly finished project bags, which I make with all organic materials, and I eco-print the fabric myself, and I put them on Etsy finally. I made all the pictures and I wrote the descriptions, and one sold already, which was really fun. So this one's twin, there you go. This one's twin sold. These are dyed with buttercups that I got from my friend's pasture, and then these 2 are printed with fall leaves, and I'm really happy with them. I save the leaves in the freezer and then just use them whenever I get a chance to dye. And it's so fun to pack up Etsy orders. It's just like, I try to reuse like all the wrapping material and stuff, so every time I get a yarn delivery, I use that tissue to wrap my own things in, because it's a waste if you just throw the tissue away. And I've been hoarding it for years and years, and now I finally have a reason to use it all and to justify hoarding tissue paper. Reuse, reduce, recycle, right? Of course, my printer broke when I had to print out the mailing address label sticker thing. And I don't know if you ever had to deal with a broken printer. So it turns on, and every time you try to print something, it gives these annoying beeps. And whatever you try, whatever it tells you to do, it never works, and it's just beeping. And it's so frustrating. And it's also quite hard because I try to be very mindful of the things I consume, but also if I I looked into having this printer repaired because it gives a code like what is wrong with it. And this specific code just says something is broken, bring it to a technician. And I looked on the internet and a lot of people said, yeah, well, something was broken, which meant the whole printer was broken. And it's cheaper to buy a new one and have this one repaired. And I'm leaning towards buying a new one because I've had this one for all of 3 years, but the quality was not great of the printing, I guess. But it also feels like such a waste to just bring this printer that looks brand new to recycling. So we'll have to think about that some more. But yeah, so finished object, finished objects, progress on works in progress, which is nice. And now, if you humor me, I found my teacher's side getting very excited. The last time I talked a bit about sweater construction, and I really prefer to work top down instead of bottom up. Ooh. And then somebody mentioned, well, you know, before most sweaters used to be knit in pieces, so panels, front, back, sleeves, and then you sew them all together. And it's so funny because knitting is years and years and years old. I mean, I believe that the first piece of knitted material was found maybe, what was it I read? It was found in a tomb in Egypt, in a pyramid. And that is, my historic, a couple thousand years before Christ. Don't quote me on this. But, so, knitting has been around for a long time. And then the predecessor of knitting was like the kind of like a combination between crochet and knitting. And, you know, it's been around a while. So I just thought, not that much has changed, right? Well, wrong, because even though knitting and around has been around for a while, probably hundreds of years, also don't quote me on this, there's the thing, there's a point, bear with me. So I just thought, I'm knitting and around. Knitting is a very old thing, therefore it must always have been like this. But it hasn't, because the cable needles have only been around since 1912 or something. They were patented. And before that, you of course had the double pointed needles in which you could knit in around. But sweater construction now is not what it has always been. That's the point. And I kind of overlooked that whole option because, I don't know, because of reasons. So I thought I'd dive into sweater construction throughout the years. And first up, I found that there's really two main categories. Either you're knitting it flat in pieces and then sewing it all together, or you're knitting it in a round. And then if you're knitting it in pieces, you have raglan sleeve options, satin sleeve options, but it's really all just you knit a front, a back, and 2 sleeves, and maybe a collar. And then in a round, you have the option to either knit top down, which I like, or bottom up. And then in construction wise, you have, this is a round yoke. So you increase like throughout, or you have a raglan sleeve in which you increase only over the raglan lines, and that you can both do top down and bottom up. And then if you knit bottom up, you can, knit in around and then until like the arm's eye, and then knit the front and knit the back and then set in your sleeves. Or you can knit the bottom and knit the 2 sleeves and then either do a raglan or a rounded yoke. So there are many options there, but I didn't really find and maybe it's my Googling skills, but I didn't really find a treatise on like sweater construction through the ages, which I'm really interested in. Now that I know that I don't know, I really want to know. This has basically been all my university education, right? I studied English, in which you basically learn you don't know something, here's how to look it up. That is basically it, really. But then I had access to all this academic work for free, which I don't anymore. So what I'm asking you, this is what it comes down to. What I'm asking you is, do you have any tips on books or information on knitting history? Because I've gotten intrigued by it. And then especially because I really like books, a bit like popular science books, because like dissertations on the history of knitting can be very dry. But there must be a fun book out there that kind of treats, that discusses knitting and construction, and not only European construction, but like kind of like the world of knitting. I saw one book which was called The History of Knitting, but I think it mainly focuses on like the Western world, and I mean, there's more than the Western world. So I'm really interested, and I hope that you have some advice for me, which would be really lovely, because then I can kind of like flex my research muscles. That sounds bad, but it's been a long time since I like dived into something on a more academic level of interest. So give me all your tips. By the way, I got lovely comments on past episodes for ideas for what's the name? T-shirts. Several mentioned, I believe it's called the Seaborn or the Sea Breeze top. I'll link it here. And then, hold on. Shush. So several mentioned the Seaborn top, which I looked up and looked really, really nice. I also saw, but I don't have the right yarn weight for it, but it might work, the coloring book Raglan by Aimee Sher, who also has a podcast. If you don't know her, look her up. I'll link her in the description box, because she's really cool. So she's a knitwear designer, and she also spins yarn, and she's also a piano teacher, and she has a really interesting take on knitting and the world. So the coloring book Raglan, and especially this version of it, really had me going like, I need this. But it's, I believe, an Aran weight, and my yarn that I have for this is DK, so I have to figure out if I have enough to hold it double. But it looks good. Yeah. Do I have anything else to share? Oh yeah, somebody asked me what this thing was. Ooh. So let me get the dust off first. So this is a little there's, as you can see, there's a window right there, but this is a little small ecosystem that I made, and I put in moss, and it's really happy, as you can see. So it used to be quite low, but it is going haywire. And then there's also, can you see? There's also a plant in there, and it's just really happy. And there's just, I think I put in some hydro, what are they called? Like those orange clay thingies in the bottom, and some soil, and I put in a plant and the moss and some water, and I put on the lid, and it's been going for I think a year and a half now. Never given it any water, but it's really fun. And also somebody asked if I use any of these plants for dyeing. I don't. I like them. They make me happy. Also, the cat that we have in our apartment, he likes to eat plants. So all the like leafy greens, like this one and that one, and this, they have to hang out up here, otherwise they get eaten. And I'm pretty sure that some of these plants are poisonous for cats, and we love our cat very much. So let's not kill him. Yeah, so I can't believe this was episode 4. It's crazy. That's all from me. In about 2 or 3 weeks, I hope to show you how my sweater is doing, and probably the diaper bag, the Explorer Tote, will be done and gifted to my friend who will have had a baby, hopefully. Otherwise, she will be hoping that she had the baby already, because I think she's due next week. I don't know how that works, but the baby keeps on growing, right? If you don't give birth on your due date, the baby just keeps getting bigger. Does not seem like fun. Yeah. Okay, I'm rambling now. I wish you a happy and healthy few weeks until I see you again. Do something nice for somebody you love, and I'll see you next time. Bye.